Assalamu alaikum students. Our next lesson is about a natural disaster. It is actually a kind of volcanic eruption and earthquake which caused many disastrous effect. So we are going to start a lesson from page 56. It is unit 11 lesson 3. I'm going to read the text first. Miltus, who lived with his family on the island of Crete in the year 1650 BC, means before Christ, experienced a terrible disaster. One day when Miltus was at school, the earth suddenly began to shake. Earthquake, shouted the teacher. All the students ran into the playground for about 40 seconds. They felt the ground move. It sounded like thunder. Thunder is a kind of rumbling noise under their feet. Luckily, there was no damage. There was no damage. The school building stayed up. But for the next week, Miltus and his family slept outside the house every night. A week later, clouds began to hide the sun. Fine dust started to fall. Nobody could understand this. The fields and trees turned white. Ash covered the roofs of the houses. It lasted for about a fortnight. Fortnight is actually 2 weeks. The family were now sleeping in the house because the roof protected them from the dust. Then only one morning the ground started moving again. All the family ran out of the house. This earthquake was even stronger than the one before. A few small buildings fell down. However, the worst disaster was about to happen. Worst means bad, and disaster means any kind of loss. So, class 5, this lesson is actually about the earthquake and volcanic eruption. The story is about the Miltus. He used to live on the island of Crete in 1650 before Christ. One day when he was, or we can say Miltus was in school, a sudden earthquake happened and it began to shake everything, so they ran to playground. They felt the thunder everywhere. They felt the thunder under their feet. After a few days, dust started to fall. Everything became white because of dust and ash. People began to sleep in the rooms because roof protected them from the ash and dust. One day they felt another earthquake, and it was so strong that many buildings fell down. Now move to next paragraph. The school was halfway up the hill. It had a view over the sea. While the students were having morning lessons, shouts came from the boat beside the sea. Milton's teacher walked the edge of the classroom and looked down. Everybody was shouting, but the shout sounded high and frightened. Run up the hill now, as fast as you can, shouted the teacher. The students were well trained. They always obeyed the orders. They ran up the hill. When they reached the top of the hill, they turned and saw an amazing sight. The sea had run out of about 400 meters and the seabed had become dry. They could see a wall of water coming toward the island. Then a huge wave broke into, means strike, to the island. Even at the top of the hill, they got wet. The water came up through the trees and round the buildings. Then the water ran downhill again. For a few minutes. Nobody spoke. Then one of the teachers said, if the water came so high up the hill, what did it do to the boat beside the sea? For the rest of the year and all the next year, there were no classes. Everyone worked to repair the damage after the tsunami. Fishing boats were halfway up the hill. Pieces of furniture were in the tops of the trees. The adults had the worst job. They buried the dead bodies, dead animals, people, children, and babies. So, in these lines, we have learned that the school, it was actually at the hill, and during the lesson the students, the people who were there, they heard the noises from the port. Teacher shouted and ordered the students to go to the top of the hill. Actually, water came out of the shores for about 400 meters, and it was like a wall of water. It was tsunami. It brought disastrous effects for everyone's life. Fishing boats, they reached halfway up to the hill. Pieces of furniture were hanging at the top of the trees, and many people died because of this tsunami. Now come to next page. More than half of the people in the port were killed by the tsunami. Miltus grieved. Grieved means feeling of sadness for the friends he had lost, but he was also puzzled. Puzzled means confused, perplexed. He knew that earthquakes could cause tsunamis. But why did ash cover the island before the second quake? A month later, he had the answer. A ship arrived at the port and brought food and tents. The captain told a strange story. He was sailing near the island of Tira, north of Crete, where there was a tall volcano. It's gone, said the captain. The island and the volcano have disappeared under the sea. There's only a small bit of the old island left. Bit means a kind of piece. So, in these lines, we have learned that a ship carrying food and tents, it passed through Tira, which is the north of Crete. The captain of the ship told told to the people that there was a huge volcano, but now it has disappeared under the sea. It was actually that volcanic eruption which caused dust and ash everywhere. So, lesson is complete. Thank you.